All right, morning everybody. This is Jace coming to you live from the floor of San Diego Comic-Con. I'm here with Nick Dragotta, Snyder, and we're going to talk some absolute Batman. So
let's do it.
First of all, super excited. Obviously, when the announcement was made, we literally played your video for everybody, you and Josh, and we pause it and talk about how excited we were and things we were having to say. But for anybody hasn't been made aware of the news, the energy here about All In is just amazing.
Thank you.
But Scott, if you want to just talk a little bit about this new initiative, All In, and how that's led to this new versions of characters in Absolute Universe. I think you called them like the sort of quintessential versions of these characters.
Oh, well, they're just they're like underdogs. Like, it's a version of the characters where the circumstances that they come up in are much harder. So they have to be tougher, a little more badass, a little bit more burn a little brighter. So that was sort of the idea with them. But All In, yeah, we're really excited. So when I left DC in 2019, 2020, they've been very kind to me over the years about, do you want to come back and do a book? And I kept thinking about it, and I thought about going to Marvel, thought about a couple things. But, I just felt like the thing I really wanted to be a part of if I came back to superheroes was like an initiative, the way that some of the ones that an initiative like some of the ones that I was lucky enough to be a part of while I was at DC, like the New 52 or Rebirth, where essentially it kind of creates a moment and invites everybody in and sort of plants a flag and says, this is who we are as a company right now, this is what we're about. And so it really was a response, honestly, to reading a bunch of really good superhero comics at Marvel, DC, Immortal Hulk, Nightwing, everything, and then having this like really shitty cultural conversation happening everywhere about how superheroes were over, because it was sort of because the MCU had sort of done a lot of its big stories, and where everyone's like doing autopsies in the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal all had these podcasts about the end of superheroes. And it just felt like superheroes are not only alive and well in comics, but they're living some of their most epic stories right now. It's where they're always renewed. And so we got this idea. It was 2 years ago here that they approved it, actually, in the green room right over there, where we started saying, what if we do the biggest initiative we've done since Rebirth, pretty much. We call it All In, and we do every kind of superhero storytelling, like the kind we had at the New 52, radical reinventions of the characters, and big epic legacy storytelling in the main line. And so we decided, let's do that, and we'll give everyone enough time, 2 years, year and a half really, to wrap up whatever stories they're doing, to decide if they want to go do a different book. Everyone is like, it's their choice and what they want to do. It's not like you have to do this or whatever. But the only mandate was in October of 2024, you have got to start your biggest, best story however you want, and whatever that is. Like, that's the goal. We're all going to swing at the same time. And so Josh and I came up with this story that spins out of Absolute Power. It's going to be in the All In, DC All In universe #1 in October. It's a flip book. We both wrote both parts, but half of it is Superman, half of it is Darkseid. You flip it, and it explains how the whole cosmology of the DCU, because of Absolute Power, has changed. And instead of a multiverse, there's kind of a duo-verse, but one planet is really hidden. And it's based on this kind of explosion that happens with Darkseid, and it's built around his energy. His energy kind of inspired it. So it's this chaotic, sort of zigzag, surprising, dangerous, wild energy. And so this world, the Absolute Universe, allows us to do what we did in the New 52, but a little more radically, where we can take the characters, have great creators come in, do personal, passionate takes, make the characters relevant to them, feel exciting to them, and that was the goal. And then the main universe can have some of its biggest stories happening, some new books as well, some big announcements coming about Justice League, and then we didn't even say what's coming November, December, January. And so it was like that. It was like, what if the whole company says, let's show everyone how awesome superhero comics are and do one giant jumping on point. From October, November, December, every week, you're going to look and see a new story starting at DC Comics. So it's meant to get you in the store every week. It's like all in the books, all in the stores, and then we're all in as creators and as a whole company. So that's kind of the idea of the whole initiative. It's just a big hell yeah to comics, and a big invitation to come join and have fun and a thank you. There's a lot of incentives also, like, I don't even know if they announced this yet, but I'm just gonna go for it. We're doing an initiative where we're gonna have giveaways that we send to stores, and I won't give away exactly what it is yet, but it's a really cool kind of DC item themed around our heroes, and it's in the story of DC Universe All In #1. So you'll see, and every week if you go and you just buy a few DC comics, like we're settling on how much or what, of any kind, you get the card. And it's not meant to be a checklist, you have to buy this. it's meant to encourage people to go in every single week and just buy some comics. And honestly, if you go in and you buy some DC Comics, great. You go and buy Marvel Comics, buy Transformers, buy whatever you want. But the goal is to get people in stores every week, no matter what they buy, to celebrate comics.
Yeah, I mean, it's an exciting time, and if you're a DC fan and maybe you haven't been reading, now's the time to come back. So
yeah,
I wanted to ask you, Nick, doing something like this, designing an absolute Batman, because you mentioned on the panel when Scott reached out to you, you're like, yeah, that sounds awesome. Some freedom, right? That this is a kind of a new world, as Scott was saying, that's been created by Darkseid Energy. I think. He's big. He's hulking the Batman who lifts. I think it's the nickname.
Yes, the Batman who lifts.
So getting a chance to really take your big swing with a new design. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's scary, and I feel like a certain responsibility to really deliver on this. And like Scott was saying, All In is such a great name because for me, it's like all in with passion. I mean, this is an opportunity and a chance to put my stamp on Batman. With probably the best Batman writer of the last generation, my generation, and for Scott to come back and do this, and I get Scott called me and he read some of my past work and was like, I want this energy, I want this storytelling, and when he explained the story, I was like, if you're writing this, and he was so passionate about it, I was getting amped up on the phone. I said, dude, I'm in, but you have to write it, and he was like, really? All right, let's do it, and then we figured out he lives close by. So we kind of have this whole bullpen method of just, he gives me a script, I go thumbnail it, and then we just paint his walls with thumbnails. We start deconstructing, reconstructing, pulling things out, saving them for later issues. It's such a collaborative process. I've never made comics like this. It's awesome, and I think you'll feel the energy in the comic. It's a real character piece for these characters. And I can honestly say, the few people I've shown this issue to are real Batman aficionados, and they are really excited about it. And it just fuels me up to go back home. I just want to get home and start drawing, and putting more into it, and just I'm over the moon about
me
this.
too. I can't stop looking at it. I actually called him hoping he would say no, because then it would be an excuse for me not to do it. Because he was the one I was like, I really hope he's free. I really want to do it, but if he can't do it, I couldn't visualize how it would be if it wasn't that sort of style, So yeah, I mean, I put off. It was funny because the way we pitched the Absolute Universe was go to creators. Again, we want the characters to just feel exciting to you, stay true to core, always true to core. And I wasn't sure I was going to do any of the books. Like I at one point I was like, maybe I'll write a Darkseid book, maybe I'll write a Detective Chimp book. But Batman was the proof of concept. It was the one that, when I had talked to DC about doing it, I was like, I think if we did, in his example, what if we did Batman like this, where he grows up, his family, they never had the money, he grows up rough and tumble in Crime Alley, and there's a lot more surprises as part of the pitch that I don't want to give away, but it's a full reimagining, not just of what if he didn't have the money. It's not a what if. It's an inversion of the whole mythology, where ultimately, if Batman is order, and system keeps things together, and this Batman is chaos and anarchy, and he's like a primal beast in Gotham, and I love it dearly. But I would go around and say, so if Batman is an example, we could do like this, and if you like that pitch, whatever. And some of the other books got populated where Jason Aaron really decided he wanted to do Superman, and we had some discussions about Wonder Woman, and it became clear that Batman was open. And I went to a few people that I thought would be great for it, and scheduling didn't really work and that kind of thing. And so ultimately, James Tynion called me. It was right before I called you, and he was like, "You've got to do that one." And I was like, "No." And he's like, "You're calling this thing all in. You've got to put some skin in the game." Yeah. And what's the scariest thing to you? And I was like, it would be to go back and do more Batman. I put my chips on the table, and I actually won with Batman, where I was like, oh. And then, it's I feel like I'm going back to the casino and, putting them all out there again, and, why am I doing this? But I'm doing it because I genuinely believe from the bottom of my heart that this book is special. I love it dearly. I mean, I love everything I got to do on Batman with Greg and everyone. And this is just a totally different animal, totally different. And that's the swing. It's when you open it and you see the very first 2 pages, I know you're going to be like, I haven't seen anything like this from Scott, before, or from Nick. That's it has a completely different energy, completely different. And it's he's bigger, he's badder, it will fuck you up, like, and it pushes the limit in some ways too, but it's also, like Nick said, it's a deep character piece. It's about like how what happens to him as a kid that makes him want to be Batman. It's about his relationships with everyone from the neighborhood, Selena, all these different people. And it really is a character study, you know. And Alfred is sort of the point of view where Alfred is older and jaded and comes to town hunting somebody. And as he's here, he starts to watch this kid who's this crazy idealist go up against this stuff he shouldn't be able to go up against, and it kind of inspires him. So it really is heartfelt. It's like what I hope, the secret of the book is like, it's what I really hope my kids will take from Batman. And you know, when I was a kid, Batman made me brave in the face of things that I was scared of. But this Batman is designed to be for them. It's designed to say, I know there are all these crazy things that seem like they're too big to solve, but if you're insane as Batman, maybe you can do it, you know?
Yeah, when you talk about character, one of the things that really comes through in what we've seen so far, so at the panel, and everybody, if you're following me on Twitter, you saw the character sketches, right? You talk about, you know, Batman who wants to be badass, the Batman who lives. One of them, he's got a big dumbbell that he's curling. It's like,
and he has
so
a
awesome.
book in another one.
Yeah, he does
as well.
But what a kind of a rough and tumble Alfred as well. Alfred in a way that we haven't seen him before.
Alfred's awesome in this book. Alfred might. Issue 1 could be Alfred. I mean, this is when we say character, it's the cast.
Yeah,
like it's really hard.
Cast.
And it's so interesting because, like Scott said, it's almost flipped. But when you read this, you'll be like, that is Batman, and yet it is not like anything you've ever seen before. I mean, I stopped doing hyperbole a long time ago in my comics career. This is the best, the greatest thing. This is so awesome. I can't wait till October and everyone gets, because I'm always nervous too. Because the thing that got me, we haven't spoiled yet. The thing that Scott said. And I'm not even going to give a hint as to what it was, but readers will know when they read it in this book. And it's hard talking about it because I don't want to spoil anything in this issue, but I can't wait for people to read it. I really can't.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things that people have been asking me, and again, we don't want to spoil, they're talking about, okay, Batman has the best rogues gallery in all of comics.
Yeah.
Right? So we're talking about new versions of villains, or are we going to have new villains? We're going to do both?
Both, but everybody's in it. You'll see from issue 1, like, it's a huge cast of your 5 favorite Gotham characters. So you'll see, like, he's just starting out. He's only like 20, 21 years old. So it's like he's got the size of the Dark Knight Returns, but he's young and he's wild and he's unsure of himself, but also overconfident in ways. But that cast is the heart of the book. It's his relationships with the people he came up with. Because he wasn't a billionaire and isolated. He came up in the same neighborhood as a lot of them. And so it's much more a character study of those characters in that way, too. And new characters, too, you'll see. But I really, really wanted to, like, when you get a chance to reinvent all of them, it's kind of like, you want Bane, you want, Black Mask, you want, like, all of them.
What's really exciting, too, is it's very much the core character list that you would expect. And for me, it's like, well, wait till we get to Bane. Wait till we get to these guys. I mean, because Scott and I have discussed everything, and it's. I mean, I'm like, again, as corny as it sounds, I'm all in, dude. I want to do this. I want to go on a run, like a legendary run, and just keep this rolling. It's just so exciting.
Sorry to interrupt you, but yeah, like the other thing to know is that it is an ongoing. Like there's no off-ramp planned at all. Like, and I have the first 13 issues all planned, like with him. So, we're a team and we're going for it. As the same as Jason and Rafa on Superman, same as Kelly and Hayden on Wonder Woman. Those are genuinely ongoing books. So I really hope you'll check them out because we want to keep them going a long time.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Somehow you guys have me even more excited. I didn't think it was possible. So thanks for chatting with us, gentlemen. Remember, everybody, Absolute Batman coming in October. Obviously, we'll be covering it on the show. So be sure to let your comic shop know now that you are all in, because that's the best way you can help your local comic shop. Like I always say, they pre-order the books. And we'll all be all in together.
Cool. Thanks, Jace.
Thanks.